Greetings, fellow Preston Changeos! Tiki here.
And Jacob Wile as well.
And welcome to another shape-shifting episode of Tiki's Universe, the show where we review and recap and react and respond and etc. to all kinds of various current animated programming, including Steven Universe and what we're talking about today, Star versus Force of Evil. Jacob, I think we've got a pattern for these episodes. I think we can officially say that when we see Sensei as the focus of an episode, we're kind of like, all right, this is probably going to be filler.
Yep, pretty much.
I mean, to be fair, I think this episode is better than the last time we saw Sensei.
Red Belt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, honestly, this feels like a pretty good season 1 episode. I think the problem with this episode is just kind of like the placement of it, where we've just been kind of spoiled with the riches of continuity through the last few episodes. And now it's just like, and then we have this weird thing where it's basically just kind of a side story that's probably not going to amount to much.
So, and in the long run, doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Not really, but let's break it down. Of course, we get Weird Al doing the voice. Now, Jacob, something I was wondering when I was watching, just kind of a hypothetical, like, I could imagine like a 5 or a 6-year-old, or, you know, basically like someone who's too young to know about Weird Al as like a performer. Like, imagine them being a fan of Milo Murphy's Law and Star vs. Force of Evil, and then like hearing this guy and just being like, wait a minute, that sounds like Milo. It just delights me to think of kids like learning about Weird Al as a voice actor without even ever knowing about his music, you know what I mean? And that being kind of like a gateway into his music and whatnot. I mean, that just delighted me. I don't know.
It's pretty interesting. It is pretty fun.
Jacob, this episode fulfills one of my short list things for like easy comedy that just really works for me whenever you do it. Honestly, slow motion gags are kind of like in there for me. Fourth wall breaking is kind of in there for me. But I've got to say, people referring to themselves in the first person that's got to be up there for like cheap comedy that just gets me every time. Like, it's really easy to do, just have Weird Al repeat a funny name over and over again, but it's just funny. What can I say? It's just like after every statement, it's like, oh, there's a quarter behind your ear. Preston J-Joe.
Preston J-Joe.
So, honest to God, that was probably the most amusing part of the whole episode to me, was just Weird Al constantly repeating, like, Preston J-Joe.
Though, admittedly, it was a bit freaky when he sucked all the sucking the joy of all the audience.
Well, I think probably the most disturbing image was him just going after Sensei in the garage.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really, so he's entertaining. I like the design of him. It's almost kind of like, he's almost kind of got a Dr. Seuss quality, kind of like a Willy Wonka also. Like, he's kind of got a Willy Wonka suit, but then the hat kind of reminds me of like a Dr. Seuss hat or something like that. I don't know. It's a good design.
A black cat, and you know what I'm trying to say, a black hat from Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, something like that. Like, it's got the same kind of like scale and dimension to it. It's something like the hat from the Cat in the Hat. I also was really amused by the gag about Jeremy.
Like, that kid didn't have any joy left in him.
But you know what? I honestly think it would be more amusing if instead of Preston just sucking the joy out of him, Jeremy, like, that was just his natural response to the magic, is just like, oh my God, he pulled a quarter out of my ear. I don't know what's real anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'd like to think that Jeremy's reaction to that has nothing to do with the soul sucking, that he was just like that blown away by like the sleight of hand magic, that he was just like disturbed and his world was rocked by it. I don't know. At least that's where I thought the gag was heading before they did the whole joy sucking reveal.
Well, he is well aware of Star's magic, so anything like that probably doesn't faze him in that kind of regard.
I guess that's true. That's a good point. And I also like how nonchalant Preston is with Star. He's not trying to hide himself at all. He's just like, okay, you got me. I'm not a human. I'm a joy sucker. But what I'm doing is harmless. It's not harmless. I think Jeremy's messed up for life.
He barely had any joy to begin with.
Yeah. Let's see. So, what do you think of Sensei this episode? I kind of, like I said, I think he was more amusing in this episode than he was in Red Belt.
He's not he's not paying as pathetically in this one.
Yeah, right. It's just kind of like, and I do kind of, you know what? I do kind of like the moral of this episode, which is essentially, oh gosh, I don't know, like there's some good stuff with Sensei. I don't know. I'm kind of losing my words for it, but I don't know. Awkward. Sorry, got off track there. Let's see. I really like Marco's quote at the beginning where he says something like, "Oh, magic is just our way to, like we just pretend it's real, and that's how
Like
we amuse
what?
ourselves, just like love." I'm like, whoa, okay, that's a surprisingly cynical view of love that Marco just slipped in there.
Especially considering what just happened in Bonbons.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, wow, you just got with Jackie and you're just saying that.
I know, right?
I mean, damn.
So what do you think of, like, I don't know, it kind of bothers me that this episode just feels like continuity wise it could just, like, you could just plop it down into season 1 and there'd be basically no change.
Yeah, I do see your point there. I mean, like, as an overall, a lot of the episode like doesn't make sense. Like, why would Star even care about this kind of thing? Like, why would she like even? Well, obviously about stealing the magic or anything, but like she's never really been one to care about being right and things like that. It doesn't seem.
Yeah, it was a little bit out of character for her. I mean, I get what they're trying to do, where they're trying to make her like, she's protecting the people, because really this guy is kind of like, it is very dangerous, and I imagine it's kind of like the, kind of like a like a Men in Black mind swipe or something like that. Like it'd be very damaging to the mind potentially. So she's coming from a good place, but I don't know, goes about it the wrong way. Folks, I'm really struggling with things to come up with for this episode. Weird Al's funny. That's all I got. What more do you want from me? This is kind of filler. I'm just gonna call it like I see it.
And it just ends with everybody being sad.
Right. It just ends with like, oh, and his magic was real because he crawled into his hat, I guess. I don't know. Not one of the stronger episodes of season 2. Probably better than Red Belt, but definitely like in there with Red Belt is one of the weaker ones.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of it I really didn't understand. Like, why? I mean, I understand why it starts like that, but then again, why is she so upset with being like, I knew I was right. I mean, like, and like everybody's sad. I mean, what? I mean, don't get me wrong, the show can do downer endings well, but this one just doesn't really seems out of place and out of nowhere.
Yeah, I wasn't big on it. I mean, and when you think about it, like last episode was a bit of a downer ending to a certain extent, but it was done really well. Like I said, Jacob, I think part of the problem here is that we've just been spoiled with the riches of continuity. Like the episodes have lined up really well with each other for the past like 5 or 6 episodes. I think we've really gotten invested into the story and Ludo and everything. And now this episode, it just literally feels like I understand that Star's parents are taking care of the Ludo situation. I honest to God hope we see a standalone episode where it's just like them on the quest, like River and Moon Butterfly on the quest to rescue Glossaric. That would be amazing. I'd be in full support of that. But I don't know. It just seems kind of weird that like that Glossaric or any of that situation like isn't even mentioned or brought up. Jackie isn't really mentioned or brought up, to tell you the truth, and Marco has that weird line about love, and that would be something, like we said, that Jacob, I think it's very possible that this literally is just like a season 1 episode that they just held over and maybe did some minor adjustments on, like Star's wand being, the half star. I mean, that's really like continuity wise, I think that would make sense, honest to God. I don't know. It's kind of bugging me how much this just doesn't fit in with the rest of what we've been seeing so far. And maybe I'm just spoiled that way. Who knows?
And like I keep trying to say, filler. I mean, these filler episodes aren't bad. I mean, they're always a nice change of pace from like the heavier continuity stuff. I mean, nothing wrong with filler. It's just like filler done right. I mean, like Hungry Larry, that was pure filler, but that was a great episode.
Yeah, yeah, right. And I don't even think this is really a bad episode because, like I said, I mean, shoot, we do have Weird Al giving a really entertaining guest performance, and it's a fun villain and everything. I think it is a good standalone episode. Like I said, maybe it's just the placement of it. Who knows? I'm sure we'll get back to the main story soon. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that's kind of my main issue, like the placing of it, and what I do. One of the good things is that like he's not exactly like entirely malicious about his intent either, at least not openly.
No, that's exactly what I like about it too. Like I said, he's just kind of like nonchalant about the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I'm doing it. You caught me, but hey, look, I don't know.
Yeah. Not much else we can go on for this episode.
No, I think we're stretching it. I think we're stretching it thin, folks. I think the fabric of our conversation has worn down to its last thread. All right. So let's see, Jacob. Next episode, it's called Baby, and it stars Melissa Rauch as a character named Baby, who stars Fairy Godmother. So that's going to be interesting. I'm kind of wondering if they're going to go the Shrek 2 route and make the Fairy Godmother kind of malicious. I don't know. That's just kind of like, that's maybe Shrek 2 is kind of like, warped my perception of a Fairy Godmother character, but that's kind of my first instinctual reaction to it. But we'll see. It could be the exact opposite of it. You know what I mean? It could be like maybe it could be like she gets along really well with her godmother and kind of like a reflection of her dynamic with her mother, which is a bit more fractured. I don't know. It could be one of those two things. Who knows? But either way, it should be fun. And maybe should at the very least, shine some light on the butterfly dynamic, give us some more information about Star's family life. So I'm excited about that.
And then the episode after that?
The episode after that is Running with Scissors, which is all about Marco kind of tampering with the dimensional scissors, and it guest stars Zosiah Mehmet as Hekapoo. I don't know, the Scissors Enforcer. But then, Jacob, next Monday, I'm stoked for this. We're going to get Math Magic. I am so excited.
The strange thing is we haven't actually had an episode focusing on other dimensions and scissors in a while, so
that's true.
Especially considering like the enforcement of it. We haven't really seen that in a while, so that should be interesting. Plus, Math Magic, you want to see something from Paul Ferrier, from Corey Burton, so...
Yeah, let's just get into this. We were joking pre-show about, like, if they really want to make this an homage to Donald Duck and Math Magic Land, which I hope to God they do, and I really want to see a cameo of Donald Duck somewhere, like, even if it's just like, oh, look, there he is on TV in the background or on a poster or something. I just want to see Donald Duck. I'm going to be looking for Donald Duck somewhere in that episode. But
who knows? Who knows? There might be rules against him cross promoting. I don't know.
Who knows? But I don't know. It's like, do you know how many freaking shows that crossed over with Lilo and Stitch? I mean, Disney uses that shit, man. But, anyways, so what I'm hoping that we see with Math Magic, folks, and bear with me on this tangent, is I'm hoping that we get the great Corey Burton, the world's best Paul Frees impersonator, to do kind of like a run on the Math Magic narration, like, talking directly with Star, like, that's right, Star. It's called long division, and it might be more complicated, but it can lead to a very illuminating part of Math Magic. I don't know. Could be fun. But there's also two other guest stars. There's Jim Gaffigan as Father Time, and Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed himself, is Omnitraxis Prime. So, yeah. So we'll see about that. And then, just kind of going on from there. So, all right, folks. Well, we didn't really have a lot to talk about this episode, but it was decent. Like I said, Weird Al is always fun. So yeah, stay tuned for more.
Speaking of Weird Al, Milo should be coming back soon.
Crossing our fingers for that, yeah. Ooh, look! I pulled out a pencil. Preston Chango.